Hey guys, and welcome to the second episode of my mini-series called Behind the Pencil. Today we're going to focus on another OC of mine named Terri O'Boylan. She's actually one of my more popular characters, which, you know, surprises me to no end. She's not exactly the nicest character, but for some reason people really seem to enjoy her. But it wasn't always like that. In the beginning, when I first was designing Terri, I wanted her to be very much like Piper. As a matter of fact, she was originally going to come into the series as Piper's ancestor, or something like that. A modern day version of Piper, or, well, as you'll see later on, sort of a past version of Piper. So when I was first, between the two of them, Terri actually came first. I developed her back in, I can't remember, but at the time I wanted her name to be Shell. And I was developing her to be a modern day mouse based off of Miss Kitty from The Great Mouse Detective. She was going to be a modern day mouse, and I was going to make her into a model. And her whole story based around being a model and keeping up with friends and things like that. As you can see, she very much has the design qualities that Miss Kitty had, with those pointed shaded eyes and things like that. And as I developed her, there's going to be bits and pieces of different sketches from different parts, because I'm just not an organized sketcher. Excuse me. I'm going to straighten my camera a little tiny bit there. Sorry about that. As you guys can see, she sort of started changing, showing more of her modern day self, and I just kind of went with it. I put her in cute little outfits and things like that. She was supposed to be very hyperactive and just very much into modeling and things like that. And I had her paired up with a mouse named Jasper, who was supposed to be a childhood friend of hers. And yeah, as time went on, that whole concept changed. This right here was actually a parody that I did for a Daenerys from Game of Thrones. I put Terri in one of her dresses, and she was supposed to be the mother of dragonflies or something like that. It was really cute. But as time went on, I just kind of kept developing her. But what ended up happening is, as I was working on her, developing and sharing my sketches, someone came up to me and sort of accused me of stealing her concept and her coloring and all sorts of crap from their original character, and I didn't want to rock the boat. So what ended up happening is I just stopped showing her. I mean, I never stopped doodling her. I just stopped showing her stuff online and talking about her, because I didn't want to upset this other person, which, you know, whatever. But yeah, so that was the original concept I had for Terri. What ended up happening was, after a little while, I got bored and I switched up her timeline, and I put her into sort of a medieval sort of tyrannical setting where she's a girl, just a sort of a medieval mouse, and she's just chilling out in the woods and stuff like that. And that's kind of where her more violent personality started coming out, was that she had to fend for herself a lot. She still had Jasper around, but he wasn't as much of a help. She eventually gets pulled into a harem, and through there she ends up sort of getting better, as in, this is where, yeah, she starts getting meaner. Yeah, she tells some girl she should have let the snake eat her. She ultimately starts getting meaner, but through the harem, she's actually a very good archer. She's very skilled at it. When they pulled her out of the woods, it was because she was sniping off soldiers and things like that, other mouse soldiers. So they pulled her out and they put her in a harem because she was pretty good looking. And from there, she just kind of, you know, does her thing. At one point, I had her paired up with D'Arrell, who was a pirate from I believe Lily. It was Lily's character, and I was just messing around, having them have flirty little flings and stuff like that, just for funsies. And then there was Margot, who is actually from the Great Mouse Detective fandom. That would be Beagle Babe's original character. Yeah, This right here, totally Terri, that face right there. But she started becoming less remorseful for the violence that she inflicted on people, and she actually found it to be more fun. I mean, not without consequence, but that's just how Terri was. And I also, at the time, had her in the Great Mouse Detective fandom, and I was role-playing, well, not really role-playing her, but just sort of pairing her up there. And I had her paired up with Basil just because Basil is very smart and he knows it. And she just kind of feeds on that sort of egotism. She likes knocking people down. So yeah. This is actually Harp and Stars. But this is, and Terri is always like very violating of Margot's personal spaces. She likes her. She's an older lady. She's a lady, and Terri very much is not. So she likes to mess with her a lot and make her uncomfortable because that is how the Terri do. I did have plans in the Great Mouse Detective universe of making Terri into an assassin that gets hired off by Ratigan every now and then to sort of jump in there and take care of problems that he has that he doesn't want to take care of himself. And she was good at it, and that's how Basil ends up running after her. This one I think is very iconic. Yeah. But basically, she's constantly, like, Basil doesn't consider Terri to possibly even be some sort of a killer or assassin for hire, just because she dresses like a proper lady, but she actually is. So she's constantly throwing him off by making him uncomfortable. Say he finds, you know, or thinks that somebody is about to be killed or something, and he tries to beat her to the job. Well, she's there, she's like in the bath or something, and she comes out because she hears him prowling around, and she, you know, uses basically her feminine wiles to chase him off. Because, you know, as on the ball as Basil is, he still had tendencies to every now and then just kind of be male. But yeah, that was how Terri was in the Great Mouse Detective universe. But where Terri met her most development was actually in the Harp and Stars universe, which is very typical of all of my characters. So what you see here is I actually had to go through and develop parents for her. So we've got Flynn O'Boylan here, and we've got Karen O'Boylan. Both of them are immigrants from Ireland. They married very young. They had Terri very young, but they both aged pretty harshly because of what they came into. Between the two, Terri has her mother's markings, but she has her father's hair color, so she is almost the perfect mixture of them. But both of her parents are actually very, very good people. They're very honest people, very hardworking people. Terri is not. I mean, she is hardworking. I can't say that she's not, but she tends to take the criminal way out. She was a scrapper. She constantly got into trouble. She was constantly looking to fight. She fought and trained with Missy McLean, who was one of the nieces of one of the characters who ran the Dullahans, and she aspired to be a full member of the Dullahans. Overall, her best friend was Missy, and later on Eva, when she was created through roleplay. But yeah, they used to just kind of brawl with each other, and a lot of betting took place because, yeah, Missy can hit hard and she could do some damage, but Terri can take some damage. She actually thrives on pain. She enjoys it. I forget what the term is for that. I don't want to say, it's not necessarily masochist. It's something else. There's an actual term for it. But that was what Terri was about. So painful things don't scare her because she enjoys the feeling of pain. That was like her little thing, and the Dullahans were very much aware of it, the people in charge. So when it came down to jobs that were going to require her having to go scrap somebody's wife or daughter or whatever, that's what she was hired to do because they knew that she would be all for the job. She had a very, very volatile relationship with what's his name now? I got Garbon, and it was actually very, it fit. He was a very violent guy. She enjoys violence. She's just one of those girls. She very much enjoyed being with him, and so there was endless flirting going on between those two. But when she actually became a legit Dullahan girl and started working for Patrick, and Garban had to start paying. That's pretty much when their relationship ended, or it had to become very much on the side, and they couldn't let anyone know about it. Yeah, and I started developing and tightening up her design and everything as a doppelganger. I really love this picture of Terri. It's suggestive, and it's just everything about her character that I love. She's just not shy at all about what she is and who she is, and she doesn't care who knows, and she's very comfortable with that. And that's one of the reasons I enjoy Terri so much, is that she is just that confident. Like, she knows she's weird. She knows that she doesn't fit the ideal for the perfect girl. She's not like Piper. She's not like any of the other girls. And I don't mean like special snowflake. You know, she doesn't think she's special at all. She thinks she's just another person out there trying to make a living. She just knows what she's good at, and she takes advantage of it. Oh, here's another Garban. Yeah. This right here was like an intense little bitey kiss. I loved it. And then here she's teasing him because she's actually a Dullahan girl at this point. And yeah, wet cherry. At one point there was some talk of getting her involved with Thornton, because Thornton's really into fencing, and Terri, well, she doesn't know anything about it, but she would actually probably attempt it. But that never really went anywhere. This was me just kind of starting to tighten her design a little bit more, figuring out where her body lines are, her actual proportions, expressions, things like that. I love this. This is the first time I actually drew Terri with that looking up and looking devious sort of look that she has. And that was it. And I was sold then. That's when I knew I had the character down. This was an old concept of her when I first started. You can see that she has very much Piper's expression here. It's just awful. And yeah, and this is kind of a tightened, more recent sketch. And I've taken this character design, and I've taken this tightened design and taken it into my own project, because this is Terri. I mean, through role play over at Harp and Stars and just kind of talking to Al and people like that, I've sort of gotten her down to a fine art to where I feel comfortable with the character, that she represents the things that I'm hoping she represents. And I'm hoping to easily translate that over into my own project, which still does not have a name. But as you guys can see, you won't be able to see very well on this, but she does very much have the same qualities. You won't be able to see the whole page, unfortunately, because of my camera and the distance and everything, but I kept the same sort of qualities, that just that devious little smirk and those really hooded, suggestive, seductive eyes. All of that staying with Terri. That is the character I've developed, and that is just the character I've fallen in love with. She is one of my favorite characters. She's fun to role play, just because it kind of gives me that opportunity to explore sort of a darker side, someone who accepts their darker side but has no remorse for it. You know, it's just part of who she is. She doesn't get along with characters like Piper, who she views are either playing a game, using her innocence to sort of win over people or to get her way, or she just thinks that they're stupid, like flat out stupid. It's either you accept that there's bad in the world or you're just stupid. Piper does not upright accept that there's bad in the world, so her and Piper do not get along, and they clash a lot. That, and when it comes down to it, Terri has a set of skills that are highly used within this particular world. Philip uses her quite a bit. Piper comes in, and Piper has those same skills, and Piper doesn't sass back. So now all of a sudden Terri has competition that she honestly cannot compete with, because she cannot play that innocent game. It's not in her character. She would feel wrong for doing it. So that's going to be a source of clashing between the girls. Overall, Terri gets along with girls who are very much like her. She got along with Missy McLean, who understood that every now and then someone's got to take a beating. Well, Terri fully adheres to that belief. So those are the kind of people she gets along with. She tends to get along with guys more so than girls, mostly because she has, again, no remorse. She knows her set of skills. She knows that she can sell sex. She knows that she can use it to get what she wants. She knows that the people she's going to get that from the most is from males in particular. So she's not shy about it. You know, she again it's kind of a source of pride for her. That is why she goes into prostitution willingly, whereas most of the girls who are in the prostitution home within this story are unwilling. And it actually leads to her becoming, in the future, she's going to be training up to be a madame. So she'll be in charge of the prostitutes rather than actually being one herself. But I'm sure she still will be. I have been asked quite a few times if Terri has ever been in love or things like that. The truth is, Terri has only ever, in any of my stories, been in love twice with men. One was Captain D'Arrell. She actually did have a lot of feelings for him, but because of that, she actually kept him away. He wasn't, and again, it was never really worked on, but she viewed him more as somebody she cared enough about that she wouldn't get involved with in a sexual sense or a relationship sense. The other person that she was in love with was Sean O'Malley. Was it O'Malley? Yeah, Father O'Malley. And she was in love with him because she'd heard stories growing up about what kind of person he was. And he was very similar to what she is today. So when she found out who he was, she immediately sought him out and was trying to bring him out. Theirs is a very messed up relationship altogether. I don't like to go into it because to some people I'm sure it's very disturbing, but it wasn't a healthy one. We'll just put it that way. Theirs was never a healthy relationship, but she did have legitimate feelings for him. If she'd had her way, that's who she would have ended up with in life, but it just doesn't end up that way. First of all, he's a father. Not to say that fathers can't get married. I'm pretty sure that they can now. The rules have changed, but whatever. Female-wise, she had a little crush on Missy for a little bit, but other than that, you know, she cares about people. She cares about her friends. She cares about her family, but she doesn't fall in love. She's not like dedicated like Piper would be. Like Piper, she dedicates herself to the people she loves completely. Terri is like, you're in trouble, I'll come beat some people up for you, but if you were stupid and got yourself into a scrap, you gotta take care of yourself. She's not the, I guess, nurturing kind at all. She's very much a believer in people taking care of themselves and forcing people to take care of themselves, because if you rely on other people your entire life, you're never gonna grow, blah 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 blah. That, and she's greedy. So that's pretty much Terri in a nutshell. Now, she did make a couple appearances in Cloverdale, or was going to. I do have a bunny version of her, but she's just kind of there as comedic relief for the most part, or just to kind of jump in and ruin people's plans. She was never actually role played, so what can I say about Terri though? She is one of my favorite characters. I do like her. She has a very dark personality, but she also has a very, if you stop and think about it, innocent personality. Her idea is I want for me, which to the core of it, most people think that way. She's just not shy about it, and she's actually one of the most honest characters I have. She doesn't lie. She doesn't need to. It's either you give her what she wants, or she's going to find a way to take it from you, and she's not going to, you know, be shy about it. She's upfront with her beliefs in sexuality. She's not ashamed to be a prostitute. It's what she does. It's how she makes her bread and butter, and it's how she's actually able to, in the Harp and Stars universe at least, afford to take care of her family. In this universe, in my universe where I've got her developing, she does it again to survive. She doesn't have anyone to take care of. She doesn't have her parents or anything. Well, actually she does. That's right. I did bring them in. Ooh, they will be seen, but they are very much ashamed of her. But she takes care of herself, and she's actually one of the more wealthy and well-to-do mice. She's actually very similar to level as Jean is. So she's ambitious in that way, that she does what she needs to do in order to take care of herself. But that's all I've got to say about Terri. Her development was very quick. I originally only brought her into Harp and Stars and started developing her there as we needed a villain. We had too many good characters and not enough baddies. So I brought her in to kind of shake the place up. And she sort of went from being a very innocent mouse like Piper to developing into sort of the devil version of Piper. Like, if you put the two together, Piper's the angel and Terri's the devil. Someone actually made a joke with me not too long ago, because I had drawn this little doodle of Terri calling Piper an idiot, Someone said that they were like my little shoulder angel and devil, that I had Piper on one end telling me to do good things, and then I had Terri on the other end telling me to do bad things, because I always do struggle with these characters sometimes. I ask myself, do I want to push that limit? Do I want to go in that direction with this character and risk alienating people? When it came out that Terri is very much a racist, she is. That's all there is to it. She is not a good person when it comes to that, but it wasn't odd or unique for her to be racist back in the 1800s. There was tons of rampant racism against the Irish, against black people, against pretty much anyone, Asian people. The whole concept of that world was basically sadness and hate. And she was no different. She was a product of her environment. She is a product of her upbringing. Again, I always have to throw in that disclaimer that just because Terri thinks that way, that does not mean I think that way. I could not do the job that I do as a nurse if I felt that way about people. So, you know, that's where I struggle the most when it comes to working on Terri in particular, is that there is a lot of hate and a lot of ignorance in her belief system because of how she was raised. So that's always a struggle, but I do enjoy the character. She's very much, she's taught me so much, and I enjoy writing her. I enjoy drawing her. She's one of my most attractive characters. Like, in my opinion, she's way better looking than Piper. I love drawing her. I love those slanty eyes. I just love those. She doesn't wear makeup or anything because she doesn't need to. Sort of her coloration brings her out, but she has like these really nice pouty lips that she knows how to use and exploit. I mean, Piper does too, but Piper has rouge and stuff like that. Hers are colored, whereas Terri's are just natural. But yeah, so that's a little bit of the history of Terri, how she came to be, the struggles that I've had with her, between people claiming I stole her design from somebody else to just not knowing how to write her because she is actually such a horrible person. But yeah, it's a learning process, and you learn a lot about yourself and what your tolerances are and your ability to empathize when you're making characters who are so against the things you think and believe and what have you. So I do encourage people to sort of explore that part of their creativity. I'm not saying get lost in it, and I would never ever say change your beliefs to believe, you know, to match a character's. Don't ever do that. Keep your beliefs. You are a person. These people are fake. So just keep that in mind. But alright, so that's it for this version of, or this episode of Behind the Pencil. This is turning out to be a very interesting project, and I am enjoying it greatly. Reminding myself why I started these characters and the processes that I had to go through in order to get them to where they are today. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.